Darth, Theorist, rise.
What if Palpatine was winning when Anakin Skywalker arrived? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. Mace Windu grits his teeth as Palpatine comes at him again, his lightsaber rising and falling in a series of blinding strikes. The Jedi raises his own weapon and intercepts each blow, but just barely. Gritting his teeth, he pushes the blade aside and spares a glance around. His comrades all lay dead around him, cut down before most could even react. Now he stands alone. Palpatine proved to be more dangerous than he had anticipated, and all he could do was defend against these attacks. The Chancellor laughs as he raises his lightsaber high, the red blade reflecting against the light. Desperately, Mace squints and intercepts the blow, but their weapons lock, and his entire body tenses as he directs all his energy to keep it from finishing him off.
You were a fool to come here, Master Windu, and an even bigger fool if you truly believe you could defeat me. The Jedi have become complacent, a relic of the past, and I shall see that they at last crumble to dust.
A surge of power flows through his blade and strikes Mace. Electricity courses through him, and he hits the wall with a resounding thud. The Jedi Master drops to one knee, his vision blurry as he looks up at Palpatine. The Sith Lord approaches him, lightsaber twirling in one hand, just as the door opens and Anakin bursts in. The young Jedi stops in his tracks as he sees the sight before him. Palpatine freezes, crimson blade barred in his hand, and then he tenses.
Anakin, you wish to see the power I possess? Then let this be your proof. Look and see what I can do. If you still doubt me, then watch as I strike this fool down. Or help me finish the job.
Anakin reaches for his weapon, but for a moment he's not sure how to draw it. He has no love for Mace, and yet seeing him like this at the hands of Palpatine shakes him to his core. All his life he had seen the Chancellor as wise, venerable, but also helpless. He had saved him more times than he could count, but as he looked on, he saw how unnecessary those efforts truly were, how much the Chancellor had deceived him. If the Chancellor was truly controlling everything, then were all those times he was in danger simply him acting? In that moment, Anakin decides to act. His lightsaber whirls to life as he slashes it up. Palpatine gasps and barely stops the blade as the Jedi steps in front of the fallen master. His face twists in fury, but he also hides his underlying shock. This is not how things should have been.
You insolent fool! I will see everything you have built crumble before you.
He raises his weapon high and slashes it down with all his strength, but somehow Anakin manages to block these attacks and pushes him back, his face blazing. Anakin rushes the Chancellor, his weapon flashing in a storm of cuts. Well, the Chancellor had an element of surprise. That is not the case with Anakin. The boy has seen what he can do and is prepared. Each strike is met with equal fury as the boy advances on him. Blows are traded, and the Chancellor gives ground. It slowly dawns on him that this is a fight he might not be able to win. Cursing, he leaps back as Anakin slashes at him. Palpatine backflips onto his desk and begins furiously typing command codes. He must activate his failsafe immediately. When Anakin tries to rush him, the Chancellor raises his free hand and a surge of lightning forks out, putting the Jedi on the defensive as he can only block this strike. As he finishes typing in the instructions, a voice cries out from the corner as Mace Windu lets out a ragged cry. His lightsaber flashes down, and Palpatine screams as his hand is severed from his wrist. He screams out and drops to his knee just as Anakin lunges forward and drives his weapon into his heart. The Chancellor gasps and slumps over, but when he regards his would-be apprentice, there is a grim smile on his face.
Too late.
Skywalker, what did the Chancellor do?
Anakin leaps behind the console and begins reading the messages Palpatine had tried to put.
They're command codes to the clone army, transmitted directly to every clone trooper. Activate orders 4, 66, and 37. Target all members of the Jedi Order and Galactic Senate.
He did what?
What are these commands?
Just then, Commander Fox and his troopers burst in, blasters ready. They see the two Jedi and open fire. The two deflect these strikes, and Anakin uses a force push to slam the clones against the wall.
Well, I think we just got our answers to what those commands were. If the entire Senate and the Jedi Order were targeted, then we need to warn the Jedi Temple and the Senate.
As they head out of the Chancellor's office, they find the Senate building in chaos. Clones rush inside, running to and fro as their blasters fire in the air. They begin rounding up senators, arresting some and executing others, seemingly at random. The two try to help those they can, guiding them to their ships and telling them to get off-world immediately. As they work, Anakin's mind races to Padme and what might happen to her. Thankfully, she isn't in the Senate building now, so Anakin sends her a message and urges her to get out as they head back to the Jedi Temple. When they return, they find the temple under attack as the Coruscant Guard storms the building. The Jedi, many of them younglings, struggle to hold them back and slowly give ground. Mace and Anakin leap from their ship and rush to join the fight, their presence immediately raising the morale of the struggling Jedi Order. Mace quickly takes command of the defenses, strengthening positions and redirecting the Jedi where they are needed. Anakin helps the evacuation efforts, starting to guide the younglings and those too old or wounded to fight. Rather than use their starships, he directs them to the maintenance pipes and sewers to let them escape in the lower districts. There they can hide or find transportation. For hours, the fighting swings back and forth as Mace commands the defenders, going wherever he is needed and cutting through swaths of clones. He doesn't know how long he has been fighting. All he knows is that far too many friends have fallen. Now the halls stand empty, as only him and the few defenders stand ready. Finally, a message comes from Anakin.
Master, the last of the Jedi have been evacuated. Get out of there. You heard him. All forces, fall back.
The remaining Jedi slowly break off from the fight and retreat to the lower levels, where they disappear into the maintenance pipes. They emerge through various points in the lower districts where the Jedi sewer tunnels snake out. As the clones rush in to secure the temple, they find it empty of fighters and younglings. But in the streets, as Mace emerges alongside a handful of defenders, he finds Anakin leaping out of the shadows.
We have some old supply caches here, but we must be careful. The clones have likely figured out what we're doing.
They move through the alley and stick to the shadows, sprinting across the streets as troopers file through the lower levels, forcing them to dodge patrols. Yet they manage to do so quite easily. Too easily, in fact. They encounter almost no resistance, and as they emerge from the shadows, they see just why. The clones are moving through the streets, not targeting Jedi, but the civilians. They storm through the houses and begin gathering up people. Some protest, but are forced along with blows from rifle butts or being forced to move at blaster point. Anakin's face pales as he watches this, while Mace grits his teeth, staring in disbelief.
What are they doing? Rounding up civilians? But why?
Suddenly, an announcement begins as one of the screens, a projection of Commander Fox, appears.
Attention all citizens. New developments have emerged in the murder of Chancellor Palpatine. The authorities now suspect involvement from members of the Jedi Order and the Galactic Senate. Suspects are now being hunted and should be considered armed and dangerous. For your protection, citizens will be rounded up. Civilians are told not to resist.
The words leave chills down Anakin's spine as he watches a squad of clones storming into the house of one hapless family. They drag off the mother and father, despite their protests. The children have no choice but to follow after them as they are loaded onto a gunship. Anakin wishes to leap down and join them. He steps forward, coiled and ready to strike, but Mace pulls him back and shakes his head.
Patience, young one. Revealing ourselves might only make it worse for these people. Right now, our priority is to escape and learn more about these commands.
Anakin curses, looking at the gunship take off. His fist curls tightly until he feels his knuckles turning white. Then, after a few tense breaths, he follows Mace into the darkness. They reach a Jedi cache where a small shuttle is left docked. They agree to make their way to Ilum, as it remains one of the few bastions that the Republic does not know about. But Anakin boards the ship, and he hesitates.
I can't go, Master. I have to learn more about these chips. I have to get to the bottom of this. And just how exactly do you intend to do that, Skywalker? We have no leads for this. We don't. But I do. I have someone who might be able to help me. But you have to trust me, Master Windu.
Mace hesitates and looks at the boy. After everything that happened, his mind is still racing. But one thing stands out clear. Anakin was there when he needed him and saved his life. He had rejected Palpatine's temptations. Finally, he nods.
All right. I trust you. Good luck, Skywalker. You too, Master Windu.
With that, Mace disappears back into the ship, which takes off into the night. He watches them go and quickly leaves the scene before any clones catch sight of what happened. To be honest, he did not tell Mace everything. While he did have an idea about what to do, he had another reason for staying behind. Padme. Her life might well be still in danger, given that the clones are now hunting the Senate. He hurries to her apartment and arrives just in time as he spots a Republic gunship landing on one of the platforms. More of the Coruscant Guard rush out and storm the corridors, but as Anakin arrives, he locks the door behind him and ignites his lightsaber as he hears screaming from Padme's apartment. His expression darkens as he regards the clones. While they try to fire at him, the Jedi is already moving, his lightsaber flashing as he cuts through their weapons and throws them back. He avoids killing them when he can, but doesn't hesitate when they don't step back. Finally, he unleashes a shockwave of force energy that throws them back and leaves the entire room shaking as it is rattled to its very foundations. But Anakin does not have time to dwell on it as he leaps up to Padme's apartment. There, he finds Commander Stone with his gun leveled at her forehead.
Don't move, Jedi.
Anakin thrusts his hand out, and the blaster flies from the trooper's hand. At that moment, Padme steps on his foot and drops to the ground. The Jedi follows with a force push that slams him against the wall. He immediately moves to her side and braces her. Padme's shaking, but she looks up at him, clutching her stomach protectively.
Anakin, what's going on?
Palpatine was the Sith Lord. But before I killed him, he activated his failsafe. Now the clones are hunting down everyone. The Jedi, the Senate, and people who are considered Palpatine's enemies.
But why? What does he have to achieve with this?
I don't know, but I intend to find out, starting with whoever is in charge of the Republic now, and why the clones are being forced to obey their orders.
I don't know what's happening with the clones, but if Palpatine is going by standard Republic line of succession, the Vice Chair should take command if the Chancellor is killed or incapacitated. That is Masameda.
Of course. He was always with us. He would know something about Palpatine. But in the meantime, we need to get you out of here. Do you have your communicator?
Padme rushes toward the table and grabs her holodisc. Once she has it, Anakin takes her hand and they hurry out. As they run, he contacts Ahsoka, praying that she managed to survive and pick up. For a moment, there is nothing but static, but then Anakin sees Ahsoka's form appear on the hologram. She is bruised and battered, with her clothes singed, but she's alive. That was more than Anakin was hoping. His body relaxes as he looks over at her.
Ahsoka, what happened?
It's the clones, Anakin. They went berserk and turned against me. We managed to escape, but our ship is totaled, and Maul managed to escape.
We?
Rex steps into the hologram, and for a moment, Anakin tenses, but the clone captain salutes him. His face is grim as he rubs the fresh scar on the side of his head. Slowly, he explains everything, talking about the inhibitor chips and how they are forcing the clones to act this way. Anakin's eyes widen in realization as he recalls Fives warning them of this exact fact a few weeks ago. Back then, he had dismissed it as the clone losing his mind, but now he realizes he had been blind for not seeing it. Guilt gnaws at him, but he has more pressing matters. He gives the two coordinates for them to meet up with him as Anakin and Padme leave the apartment. However, Anakin notices the unconscious Commander Stone and slings him over his shoulder, starting to drag him with him. Meanwhile, Masamada watches as the Senate goes back in session for the first time in several days, albeit in a much reduced stature, as many senators are either hiding or languishing in prison. It doesn't matter though, as between his allies, the hastily picked replacements, and those intimidated by his takeover, he has the minimum for the Senate to come into session. That means he is one step closer to actually being able to reveal himself and officially take over the Republic. Mas was careful to avoid the public eye in the ensuing days of Palpatine's death. There were many questions about that, and his command codes have left many people upset. But by masking his involvement, it will allow him to pin everything that happened on a Senate, which overreacted and allowed him to take over and restore order.
A clever plan, Speaker. Assuming it all comes together, these next few days shall be critical.
Leave that to me, Prime Minister. Just be sure the clones continue to follow their commands.
That is not a problem for me. The clones have been bred to perfection. You'll have nothing to fear on that front. Not unless the enemies you didn't manage to capture strike out once again.
The Jedi? They are a fraction of their strength. Yes, indeed, I have been able to track them down. But rest assured, they will fall eventually. It is only a matter of time.
Then you can count on my continued support in this takeover, provided you follow through with your side of the agreement.
Yes. Once the Republic is mine, you can be sure of the Republic's continued patronage for all of Kamino's products.
Meanwhile, in a far-off medical station in the Outer Rim, Anakin watches two procedures take place. He stands by the observation deck as Rex and Ahsoka sprint inside. Their eyes are wide, and Ahsoka hugs Anakin just as they turn to see what is happening. For Padme, the birth is long and laborious, with Anakin clenching the railing so tightly that Rex is afraid it might snap off. There are a few scares where he fears for her loss. The only thing that keeps him from snapping is Ahsoka, who touches his arm and shakes her head each time she senses her former master is about to lose control. Finally, the process ends, and they see a healthy set of twins. Padme is also treated. While she is exhausted, the medical droids are confident she will survive. Anakin finally relaxes, feeling his shoulders slump and his anger at Palpatine growing. So that was a lie as well, just like everything he had said. With that done, they can finally focus on the second operation, Commander Stone, who is also being operated on. The medical droids were a bit confused at first, but once they saw what little data Ahsoka and Rex managed to pull from Rex's operation, they got to work. Thankfully, this operation is much safer. The only problem is extracting the information without getting it corrupted. The process is delicate, but they eventually manage to do it, and Anakin begins looking it over and researching the different command codes. Order 4. If the Supreme Commander is incapacitated, GAR command shall fall to the Vice Chair of the Senate until a successor is appointed. Order 37. Capture of wanted individual through the mass arrest and threatened execution of a civilian population. Order 66. In the event of Jedi officers acting against the interests of the Republic, and after receiving special orders verified as coming directly from the Supreme Commander, GAR commanders will remove those officers by lethal force, and command of the GAR will revert to the Supreme Commander. By the time they finish reading these orders, Commander Stone begins to stir. He looks around in confusion, but Rex places a hand on his shoulder and explains everything that happened. His brow furrows as they begin to connect the dots of what happened. Obviously, Chancellor Palpatine activated Order 66 to get rid of the Jedi and Order 37 against the Senate, but Order 4 was also activated. That would mean command over the Republic and its military has passed to Mas Amedda.
That would make sense. He is the Speaker, and has been one of Palpatine's closest allies. He would know everything Palpatine had planned.
True. And he would finish whatever he started, which means we have to stop him.
We can stop by deactivating those chips. The clones cannot remain loyal to him, not if we intend to take back the Republic.
The problem is, even if we find evidence and somehow deactivate them, Mas Amedda likely has what's left of the Senate backing him. They won't care if we expose him.
The information is sent to the Jedi Order, who reports that many of the surviving Jedi have either regrouped on Ilum or gone into hiding in the Outer Rim. While good news, the problem is that their forces are scattered and helpless. They aren't in a position to openly challenge the Senate or the clones, at least not alone. They begin to formulate a strategy, but they require more troops. Trying to capture more clones would take too long. Many of their planetary allies are likely being monitored, and they cannot recruit mercenaries. That leaves only one option, the CIS and its people. The holonet flickers across the lower levels of Coruscant. Static breaks, then an image of Commander Stone appears, his voice low but steady.
We were forced. The inhibitor chips in our heads. They made us obey. Orders 4, 37, and 66. I have publicized these orders in what they fully detail. It wasn't our choice. Palpatine gave them, and now Mas Amedda carries them out.
The broadcast spreads like wildfire. Civilians in the districts whisper, then shout. They were told that their friends and family were being detained for security reasons, but now it seems like they were being used as hostages to force senators out of hiding. Angry crowds form, protesting on the streets. For the first time, the Coruscant Guard looks uneasy as citizens glare at them instead of cowering. There are thousands of them, and while the Guard does eventually break up these protests, the spark has been lit. Meanwhile, the Jedi shuttle cuts through hyperspace. Anakin stands at the viewport. Padme rests, one hand over her newborn children, while Ahsoka keeps a silent vigil nearby. Mustafar burns in the distance, its orange glow spilling across the cockpit.
Are we really trusting the Separatists?
We don't have the luxury not to. If Palpatine played both sides, then they were betrayed just as we were, and they might help us.
That doesn't mean they won't try to use us.
The ship lands near a fortress of black iron, steam rising from the lava rivers below. Inside, the remaining CIS Council waits. Wat Tambor, Shu Mei, and a handful of others. Their mechanical guards bristle as the Jedi enter.
So, Palpatine is dead, and the Republic burns. We should thank you. But why should we trust you?
Because we need your help. You realize that Mas Amedda and Palpatine used both of us, so it will take both of us to stop him. Besides, you are losing the war. Consider this a peace negotiation, too.
We have not lost yet, and if you truly wish to negotiate, then you shall honor the deals Palpatine made us. Full independence and freedom from the Republic's laws.
Every promise Palpatine made you is ash. They died with him. You think you're in a position to make demands? Mas Amedda will soon have you loose ends taken out too. He never intended to honor them. He'll kill your leaders just as he killed ours. The only chance you have left is to survive. and survival means standing with us.
The Separatists murmur among themselves. Some scoff, but others waver. The thought that they had been pawns gnaws at them. Seeing his own faction starting to weaken, Wat Tambor sighs.
Very well.
On Coruscant, the Senate chamber echoes with Mas Amata's booming voice.
For too long, chaos has threatened our republic. Today, with your vote, I will bring stability. With your vote, we secure our future.
But voices rise in the galleries. Senators stand, starting to give their support to ensure that they survive this vote. Yet it isn't them he must worry about. Outside, protests erupt on the streets. Even in the Senate landing pad, thousands gather. They clash and try to shout their concerns to the guards.
You see, this is the kind of violence I wish to contain. Surely the Senate can understand the necessity of my actions.
Mas Amata slams his staff, desperate to regain control. Yet for once, his words do not find the audience he expects. Rather than calming them, it only further inflames people, and more begin to rise up. Little does he know that these protests are sparked by the Jedi who mix themselves into the crowd, giving their support and channeling the Force to heighten the emotion. It steadies the people and leaves them less likely to break. Meanwhile, this opens a path for Mace and Obi-Wan to enter the temple through the lower districts with 300 Jedi. Blaster fire lights up the Jedi Temple courtyard as the Coruscant Guard rushes to intercept. To the Senate, it looks like the Jedi are attempting to retake Coruscant. Ships are sent, and the clones who can be spared are hastily redeployed.
Hold your ground. The people are watching. Make them see.
Crowds surge into the plaza, chanting against the arrests, waving banners, calling for liberty. The Guard finds itself torn, fighting a war on two fronts as the Jedi in the crowds secretly distribute blasters and other weapons for them to use.
This is a fine distraction. I hope Skywalker holds up his part of the plan.
Don't worry about him. We just need to make sure Mas Amata keeps his eyes away from Kamino.
The storm howls across the endless oceans of Kamino. Lightning lashes against the spires of Tipoca City, but these are of little concern to the droid fleet that emerges from hyperspace, just as they had before several years ago. The CIS attacks Kamino once again. However, this time they have inside support, as Anakin, Ahsoka, Commander Stone, and Captain Rex are there to provide assistance. They use their experience and knowledge of Kamino's defenses to help ships break through. While some ships are locked in combat, several landing ships streak through the sky, with vulture droids swarming around them, tearing them from the sky. Inside the lead shuttle, Anakin stands with his saber lit, Ahsoka at his side. Rows of battle droids click and shift nervously, awaiting orders.
Remember, no killing unless you have to. These clones are victims, not enemies. Stun them, disable them, but don't slaughter them.
Understood. We get to the databanks and the controls. Everything else is a distraction.
The shuttle slams onto the landing pad. Blaster fire erupts as the Kamino defense forces rush out, blasters blazing. Rockets and turret fire hit several landing craft while blaster fire pours upon the grounds. Yet the CIS forces are still considerable. Countless droids come marching out. Destroyers and super battle droids front the battle. Their blasters modified to stun rather than kill, but are still dangerous. As swarms of B-1s gather behind them, Anakin and his team move through the side, accompanied by a squad of elite commando droids. Guard races out, rifles blazing. Anakin charges first, deflecting everything and throwing clones aside. Ahsoka leaps overhead and lands in the middle of the mass, her weapons shattering weapons and knocking men aside. They push through the sterile white halls of Tipoca City. Kaminoan scientists scatter, alarms blaring. Security doors slam down, but Ahsoka leaps, flipping through the gap before it seals and slicing the controls. Clone officers rally to defend their inner labs, but Anakin barrels forward like a storm. He kicks one trooper back, spins his saber in a wide arc, then stuns the rest with a burst of force energy. The commando droids pick off whoever don't fall from the Jedi.
Move! The databanks are this way.
Yet as they descend deeper, a hiss echoes down the corridor. From the shadows steps the clone commandos. Tall, heavily armored figures bred for combat, wielding exotic electropikes and darting with inhuman speed. Yet they run into Anakin, who throws 3 back with the Force. Those who don't fall duck under their comrades and rush at him. The clash is brutal. The elites strike with long pikes, surrounding the Jedi in a blur of energy arcs. They jab their weapons at him, aiming to force him back, but he doesn't falter. Anakin meets them head-on, his blades sparking against the staff weapons. He drives one back with a vicious kick, then slams another into the wall with the Force. Rex and Stone hang back, helping them pick off stragglers and cover the Jedi's back. Ahsoka dances between them, her blades whirling, cutting staff tips free with precise strikes. Within minutes, the corridor is littered with the fallen commandos, stunned, disarmed, or knocked unconscious.
They were desperate. That means we're close.
The vault doors groan as Anakin and Ahsoka force them open. Inside lies the glowing heart of Kamino's cloning network. Towering databanks, endless streams of code. Every order, every genetic failsafe, every inhibitor chip protocol. Anakin plugs in a captured datapad, slicing into the system. With a surge of power, he uploads their virus. Together, he and Ahsoka overwrite the system, broadcasting a single command through every clone's chip. Deactivate. Across the galaxy, clones freeze in the middle of combat. Rifles lower, eyes clear. Confusion spreads like wildfire as the grip of the inhibitor chip collapses. On Coruscant, soldiers stop mid-strike, staring blankly at their weapons. In the Senate Plaza, citizens gasp as the guard falters. Back on Kamino, alarms die. The databanks flicker, then shut down. Anakin lowers his saber, chest heaving. Stone quickly broadcasts his message again, and in the chaos, the Jedi rush forward and rally their men. Mace points past a confused squad of clones toward the Senate building.
They are your true enemies.
The clones do not need to be told twice. As they hear the reports of the inhibitor chips, confusion gives way to anger, and they rush forward, blasters firing as they storm the Senate building. This time, the Senate cannot hold against the assault. Without their guards, they fall quickly, and many of those inside are arrested. Others are simply executed when their crimes are too great. Among those is Mas Amata, who is allowed to explain everything before he's gunned down. Padme is given command of the Senate and is elected the new chancellor. Her first order is to release the political prisoners and begin negotiating a true peace with the CIS. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.